Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So it's just before 1 p.m. London time. Billy is still away. We're going to pick him up tomorrow. So he's all right. He spent some time with his grandma, my wife's mom. Anyway, want to look at the markets. We've seen a little bit of move in the stock market earlier this morning, and the currencies are interesting this morning. So are the precious metals. Cryptocurrencies remain under pressure. Looks like Bitcoin tested a low of around 10,000 this morning. ETHEREUM got down to near 900. And as I said earlier, I think this consolidation cryptocurrencies is still ongoing. I don't think it's the end for cryptocurrencies and all the altcoins. So I'm not really too concerned. I have made a video before in December warning about the futures on Bitcoin, especially the one on the CME, that I said it could be used to manipulate the Bitcoin price. I don't think the correction we've had since we touched almost 20,000 is all due to manipulation, and I don't think this contract has been ongoing long enough for the bullion banks or the same suspects that manipulate gold and silver to be able to manipulate Bitcoin yet. But who knows? Anyway, let's have a look at what's going on. The precious metals actually have done fairly well, especially gold this morning, considering what we're seeing the other currencies. Right now, spot gold is $13.37, up about $3. It's been as high as $13.39 and as low as $13.32.50. Silver is down $3, below $17 at $16.97. Range has been $16.93 to $17.11. Normally, this would be worrying. It could be a signal that they're going to try to whack silver down whack gold down, I'm sorry, if silver isn't able to make a move like gold is making a move. But looking at the other currencies makes me a bit, how can I say, suspicious that we could see something else. Basically a surprise to the upside in precious metals. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but it looks a little bit like that. Why? Well, we're seeing the pound come off quite a bit. We're at 139.44, down 42 pips, or a third of a percent, and it's been down further to 139.15. We haven't seen this usually of late. Whenever the pound's been up, down, gold has been down as well. The euro's down a little bit. They're only 10 pips. So not much, a little bit of dollar strength against the pound. But against the yen, the dollar's fairly weak, is down almost 0.5% at 110.46, near the lows here. Crude oil, 63.78, up a third of a percent. So still stuck around the 63, 64 area from what I see. Bond markets. Well, the 10-year yield is retesting the 2.63% yield. Still very quiet, I have to say. I know we broke out and we closed above 263 last week. We got up to 266, but still nothing really to write home about. Looks like the central banks, the bullion banks who work together, they're still in control of the bond market for now. The interesting thing that's happened this morning, for example, has been in the stock market. Right now, the Dow futures down 3 points, 26,211. But it was as high as 26,327. So it was up over 100 points earlier on. S&P as well is now 2832, was up at 2840. So it was up like 6 points. And then all of a sudden the markets came off quite sharply. And that's been in the last 4 hours or so. And Zero Hedge is saying that it could be a couple of things. It could be with, because of, how can I say, a tsunami warning from an earthquake that took place in the Gulf of Alaska. So there's a tsunami alert for the entire west coast of the U.S. after a 7.9 magnitude earthquake was recorded in the Gulf of Alaska at 4:31 Eastern Standard Time, which is about 3 hours ago. And then they say that those who missed it, the U.S. imposed a 30% tariff on solar imports to the U.S. I think that's to do with solar panels. And approved the safeguard tariff action on imported washing machines. It says this resulted to various comments from other nations, including China, which said it was dissatisfied with the tariffs on U.S. solar imports. Furthermore, Mexico said it regretted that it was not excluded from the measures, while South Korea stated it is seeking to reinstate tariffs on U.S. products and have asked the WTO to stop trade concessions. So it's always difficult to know why stock markets or markets turn. We can kind of use headlines and news to justify it, but we won't know. So anyway, interesting that the stock market was very strong earlier on, and now we're down. I have to say, though, the NASDAQ is still up on the day. It's up 0.25% at 69.22, but it is about 25 points from the highs, and it's up 0.25%. What else is going on? Yeah, the cryptocurrencies have had a tough time of late. It's been quite choppy. Right now, Bitcoin 10,272. The 24-hour range has been about 11,000 to 10,000. Ethereum, the range has been 1,000 to 900. We're around 946 right now. EOS or EOS, fairly choppy as well, with high 1380, low 1150. As I said earlier, I'm still haven't changed my mind about blockchain technology. I think it's still very early days, about this blockchain technology. I think only the people who have been involved in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and other altcoins, know a bit about blockchain and what it could mean. And not everyone, I would say some people are involved and they're just involved to try to make a quick buck. Not that that is a bad thing, but they haven't really studied deeply and looked at what it entails. And I think the general public who have heard of Bitcoin, they've got no clue of what is really behind the technology. So I think we've still got a long way to go for the cryptocurrency asset development, asset class development. So, let's have a look now what kind of, market cap we've got. We did get almost up to 750 billion. We're right now at 500,823 million. So right around that 500 billion market cap, which is still very small compared to all the asset classes there is in the world, in the size. Just derivatives, it's almost $1 quadrillion, which is 1,000 trillion. So 500 billion is peanuts. The other thing I wanted to talk about is debt, in particular national debt, which is taken on with the excuse of fighting wars, fighting enemies, combating greedy businessmen, i.e. developing a welfare state. So it's been used by the bankers and the people, the powers that be that created the central banking system to divide the public, to make them scared, to pit them against each other, capitalists versus workers, and justify the ever-growing size of the government, taking on debt to fight wars that we know have been created by false pretenses, with false flags, like the Spanish-American War and the sinking of the Maine. They blamed it on the Spanish, but the Spanish didn't do it. The way World War I started, the sinking of the Lusitania that brought the U.S. into World War I. Pearl Harbor, there's a lot of books and a lot of documentation saying that the U.S. government knew the Japanese were ready to attack Pearl Harbor. The Gulf of Tonkin, and the workers versus the bosses. I know there's like bad bosses out there, and there are bad workers as well. But I don't think it should be for the government to be involved. I think if a boss or an employer is really horrible in a normal free market, rule of law kind of environment, that employer will not find the employees, if the government doesn't interfere. But what that has done is it's given the carte blanche to the state to basically put trillions and trillions of dollars of national debt onto the public. And why is it morally wrong? Well, because it's not any different than if, for example, my wife and I left a huge amount of debt to our daughter, after we died, instead of leaving her, a legacy. If, we knew we were going to die in a few years, for example, we were sick, and we just like started spending and borrowed and left it all to her. Is that right? Just because we're not going to be around? And that's what politicians do. They don't care. They just keep piling on the debt. So we got people like Boris Johnson, the foreign secretary, saying that the government or the taxpayer needs to borrow another $5 billion to save the NHS. Remember when Gordon Brown was chancellor, he came out with the speeches. Oh, we're going to spend $12 billion here, there, and there. And you ask yourself, where is he getting that money from? Would he be happy if we took on loads of debt in his name so his children could, would inherit that? I don't think so. And that's what these people do. And that's what Donald Trump has done as well with the tax cuts. What all politicians every year have done. The only politician who's never voted for spending is Ron Paul. So that's what I wanted to talk about, the immorality of the national debt. And I think it was Thomas Jefferson who warned about that it's morally wrong to leave future generations with debt. But for some reason, we tend to, people seem to think it's okay. But anyway, so it will be interesting to see what the markets do later on. The market opens in about an hour and a half in the US, the stock market. So we'll watch things. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet on YouTube. You can also follow me on steemit.com and on Twitter. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.